Hi, welcome to Sequentially Yours, initially mine. This is Karu, and I am here to show you what the latest number ones are for the week. Alright, so I gotta be honest with you guys. This week is really tough to pick a favorite. I mean, I got 3 books. I like them all. I really like them all. I can't really kind of sit there and tear them apart for anything, and I'll explain why I picked the one I did. And it's not for the reason that you might think, but that I'll admit that is part of it. Suffice it to say, yeah. So let's start looking through these. First one, John Flood. This is done by Justin Jordan, writer, Jorge Coelho for pencils, and Tamara Bonvillain for coloring. Now, Tamara Bonvillain, and I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly, but she is really just starting to ping on my radar now. This is actually, I noticed in the back of my current comic obsession, which is Wayward, that's what I've been reading a lot now, just myself, just for fun, that she's also the colorist on that. And there was actually a nice little, several panel thing in the back where she talks about how she did the colors for a particular panel and showed the process along the way. It was fascinating stuff, but yeah, I really like the way that her stuff works, especially since she's really good at atmospheric effects. She's good at making a particular panel look the way that you need to feel. I'm really impressed by that. John Flood as a book is an interesting concept. It sort of takes the police procedural plus the one guy with the special ability thing and flips it on its head. The closest I can think of is Castle, in which the point of view character is, well, even then, no, because the point of view character is rarely the normal person. We're supposed to be focused on the crazy person, and with John Flood is the crazy person. He hasn't slept in 10 years. And really the only thing I dislike about this comic, and as a side note, not slept in 10 years has made him see things in a different way, as he puts it. It's a silly premise, but it works. And the only thing I really didn't like about this was that the first page is John giving his backstory. You don't need that, especially since they cover it later. Suffice to say, though, it's still good. Read it if you get a chance. I would recommend it. Next, This Damn Band. This one's from Dark Horse. It's script by Paul Cornell, art by Tony Parker, and colors by Lovern Kinzerski. Again, the colors really get me on this. I mean, just take a look at that first page. It's gorgeous. The art is gorgeous in general. All of these characters really kind of stand out from one another, and I don't confuse them on the panel, as far too often happens. That being said, though, the writing is what gets me about this one. As somebody who has been into rock music for basically my entire life and read and studied these guys, it all rings true, especially the whole idea that they have their own sort of persona that they present to the public, but this isn't necessarily them. That really rock musicians were more normal people than we really want to give them credit for, stories about Led Zeppelins and sharks aside. Led Zeppelin, not Led Zeppelins. Whatever. Led Zeppelin and sharks aside. Suffice it to say, though, it was a good book. I bought into it. I bought into the documentary film style premise of it, and all of the characters distinguish themselves from one another in different ways. About the only thing that really brought me back was the ending was a bit abrupt, and I know that they were trying to kind of hook you for an issue 2, and I'm somewhat curious, but they didn't lay the groundwork well enough. It spends the entire time telling you this is fake, this is fake, this is fake, oh, this is real, and it sort of comes out of nowhere. Suffice it to say, though, not bad. And I hate to be so mainstream, but this week's winner, Constantine the Hellblazer #1. This is part of DC's new reboot. This is the first one that I've actually bothered to read in the brand new reboot because, DC has just not been impressing me lately. But this was so good, guys. Now, first, let me bias. I'm a Constantine fanboy. I have been for many, many years. Basically, I read Sandman. I said, oh, who's this guy that Dream is talking to and seems to be a bit of a jerk, but he's got a cab? What? He's got a friend with a cab? What's going on here? So I looked up Hellblazer, and I love Hellblazer. I love Lady Constantine as well. The whole bit. And what I like about this is that it makes John into a person. It does a very good job of making him into a person. The temptation with Constantine is always to make him into a mastermind, into this Machiavellian, into this Machiavellian figure, when in reality, he is still a regular person, as Machiavellian as he is, and we don't really get that often. This book gives us a little bit of who is this Constantine guy? Why do I care about him as a person? One thing that I particularly like that means a lot to me, and may not mean a lot to you, but it does to me, is that they allow him to be openly bisexual. It's something that is a part of the character, but has been hinted at in little bits here and there throughout the book. Here we just have him not, saying I'm bisexual. No, we see him walk into a place and start flirting with a guy and just enjoying the flirting because it's something normal. It's something average for him. And not flirting with guys specifically, but flirting with a regular person. Then a demon comes in, a woman demon, female identified, whatever you want to call it. A demon that clearly looks like a woman and basically drags him away out of a sense of obligation. It's an interesting back and forth, and you can almost see the disappointments going on there. But what I think I like most of all is that, again, he's a con man, he is a charmer, he is very, very good at manipulating people. But this doesn't make it so good that you can't see it coming. It's like the Ocean's 11 films or the later Fast and the Furious films in certain parts where the clues are there for you to figure out what's going on or what the actual twist is. It's just, you tend to miss it because of the way it's presented. The same thing's going on with Constantine here, is that you can see where he's going and what kind of manipulations he is playing, what kind of games he's going for. But that doesn't necessarily mean you know that it's coming. It still takes you by surprise because it's very subtly written. All right, so I'm going to say what put this over the top, though, as opposed to the other two books. And it's not the bisexual thing, and it's not the manipulation thing. What really got me about this was that it was a complete story that tagged you for another story in the next book. This told one whole story from beginning to end. John finishes at the beginning, you get John in media res. He, whatever he just finished is done, so we know that he's the kind of person that realizes that he's in a store naked, covered in blood. We know this is him now. It goes through one complete story arc that tells the story, of him meeting this demon, what she does, how he reacts, etc., etc., etc. That wraps up, and then it gives us something else at the end to get us to the next book. And I really think that comics need to be doing that more often. Don't get me wrong, I love epic storylines, but they're becoming the norm. Decompressed storytelling is very much a thing in comic books, and while I think that it's good to be able to tell decompressed stories, you also have to realize that, as Stan Lee put it, every comic is somebody's first comic. And if it's not something that they're able to jump into, they're less likely to keep going at it. So I want to give credit to DC, and I want to give credit to the people behind Constantine, which I didn't even mention, I'm sorry. Ming Doyle and James Tyrion IV are writers, Riley Rossmo is artist, and Ivan Placencia as colorist. These guys all did an amazing job. And put together a really good #1 book. This is what a #1 book needs to be. It needs to be one story, tells us who this character is, why we should care about them, and what we should expect in the future. Constantine wins it this week. All right, guys. So those were the 3 that I found at my local comic store. You may find different things. Go to your local comic store. Check out the new releases. See what's out there. See if there's anything that gets your interest. Meet people there. Talk to them. Have them learn your style and learn your tastes, and they will be able to help you. That is what they're there for. So anyway, that's how I felt about those books. I don't know what your opinions are. These were initially mine. Take care.